Hi, everybody. Welcome to the peer-to-peer conference series for the Walk to End Alzheimer's for the Michigan Great Lakes chapter. Today's session is the power of teams. My name is Maggie Gibbons. I am the walk manager for Jackson, Ann Arbor, and Lenawee County Walk to End Alzheimer's. So great to be here with you and excited to talk about teams and how to get them and how to keep them. It's really important. So our agenda today is talking about our 2014 walk results, a little bit about the committee structure and what roles you should be playing, your goals, because it's important to know who we need to get and why we need to get them, and how to get them and keep them. So recruiting and retention, walk around events, which is our way of helping to get your people involved and inspired, and then Walk Central, which is a little bit of information about training and resources for you as the walk committee. All right, so let's get started. So these are some numbers from the 2014 walk season. These are national numbers, and your walk manager, your staff partner, can get you your community-specific walkers of how many you had and how many you want to have again this year. So we saw a big growth in 2014 as a national organization. So we had a 12% growth in walkers and a 19% growth in revenue, which is just awesome. Our teams, we saw 15% growth and a 4% growth in team retention. So that number is a 54%, which is our national percentage of how many teams we are bringing back. And we grew 15% more teams nationally than we had the previous year. So that is just awesome. In 2014, we outperformed every single metric, almost, pretty close, than in 2013. The big one that I want to say again is this team retention rate. In 2013, we had a 49.81%, so almost 50% of the walkers from 2012 came back in 2013. And then in 2014, 54% of them came back from 2013 to 2014. So that is great. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. When you look at these numbers from the Michigan Great Lakes chapter, we range anywhere from 40% retention all the way up to 70%. Adrian, Lenawee counties walked in Alzheimer's last year had a 70% team retention rate, which means of their 40 teams, 70 of them came back in 2014. So that is just great. We will talk about it a lot, but our goal for every single walk is to be at least 55%. So we'll come back to that. But this slide, great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, always about the goal. So who needs to be a leader? Who should be recruiting these teams? The answer is everyone on your committee should be recruiting these teams, not simply the team recruitment chair. It would be great if you had, 10 people on each of these subcommittees, but not everybody does. So I know that in some of our committees, we have one person that is working on teams as the specific team recruitment, that's their main focus, but every single person on your committee should be able to look around them and see who they know and get people involved. This next slide is kind of the same thing, figuring out who's working on recruiting them and who's working on keeping them. So the more help that this subcommittee has, the more widespread your coverage would be. Everybody knows different people, so we want to make sure that we are reaching out to every single aspect and every single part of the community and getting every single kind of organization or club or company involved. So making sure we're not just focusing on just senior living or just schools. There's a lot of people. Alzheimer's affects everybody, so you can pull teams from every single aspect of your community. So my example, I guess, Ann Arbor we are looking for 130 teams this year. I don't expect one person to be doing this team retention and making calls to all 130 team captains. That's crazy. But how cool would it be to have 10 people on the team retention team that each take, 10 people and get the coverage that way. So everybody is being talked to. And this will really differ between different communities, but I'm just making sure that ultimately everybody's trying to recruit teams and everybody's helping out with this team retention. So you can't walk a straight line without a fixed point to follow. We need a goal. And you'll hear us talk about our 55% or how many teams we need. And I really want you to know how we get there. So it's important for you, the committee, to be aware of the split and the projection of how many teams and kind of how we figure that out. So like we said, 55% is our goal for retention for returning teams. Our national average is closer to 60 or 65. For other peer-to-peer fundraisers like ours, it's closer of 70 to 75% sometimes. So we've got some work to do, but if we really set our focus on 55%, that will be growth from nationally from last year, and we will just keep moving up. But why is this retention important? Why are we talking about this so much? So here's a graph that shows you the dollar amounts of all the teams. New teams make an average of, or raise an average of $658. And returning teams have an average of almost $1,500. So that kind of shows you why we want to focus on those returning teams and why they're so important. But we also want to keep involving new people into our mission and keep spreading the word and awareness about Alzheimer's. So when we're looking at our overall fundraising goal, we have to kind of take it into account how many teams we project will come back, looking at the history, and then look at the average of how much we need them to each raise as returning teams, and then how many new teams we'll need to kind of fill in the gap a little bit. So every committee will have different goals and different per team amounts that they're asking people to raise to meet your overall goal. But kind of a best practice is when you're mentoring your teams as the team retention committee, that you're telling them, every walker should try and work for a t-shirt. So that's $100. It doesn't take a lot for someone to raise $100. So if you have 10 people on your team and they each raise $100, there's $1,000 right then and there. And that would even if they're a new team, that's not unfeasible for them to do. So that's kind of our focus there. But to break this down a little bit even further, I wanted to give you an actual example. So in Lenawee County, our goal is $45,000 this year. We need 25 returning teams and 24 new teams. So in 2014, we had 18 new teams. So we're looking to bump that up a little bit so that we can meet that $45,000 goal. We are asking or kind of shooting for our returning teams to fundraise an average of $875 each, with those new teams being a little bit lower, but shooting for $675. So like I said, if you have 7 people on your team and they each raise at least $100, they're obviously going to hit that new team's average. So just something to think about when we're using that mentoring and that team retention outline. So a wedding cake. You're asking why there's a wedding cake here. So when we're looking at our participants as a whole at Walk, we kind of like to use the example of a cake, a wedding cake. So there are 3 tiers here on this wedding cake. The top layer represents our board members, our committee members like you, our staff members. These people are already engaged in the mission, and they will be there no matter what, no matter how much fun we're making, no matter how many incentives we do, they will be there. They're already bought in. And that's our smallest layer. Then that next layer gets a little bit bigger. Those are people like my husband. I'm committed to the mission. He is committed by association. He's coming because he knows it's important to me. These are people that work in the senior living industry, that it's important because they see it day to day, but they might not have that passion personally. They do it for their work or because they care, but they're not 100% bought in. So that's a little bit bigger than that first tier, but that's still in the middle. They're not 100% gung-ho, 100% in their hearts passionate that no matter what we do, that they will be committed. That bottom layer is the biggest tier. Those are the people that are coming to our events because they're fun. Those are the people like my sister-in-law who's going to come to our walk because I asked her to and I need some help. Those are the people that their work has started a team and they just come out because they get some volunteer hours or they just, think it would be great to do an outing with their team. Those are sometimes our $0 walkers that are just there to walk on the day of and enjoy. And that's great. That's our biggest focus, is trying to get those people to our event to just spread the mission, just hear what we're about. And then we're hoping that we will engage them at the event and move those people up to the middle layer. So then next year, those are our returning teams. And those are the people that are out there fundraising for us and spreading that dollar amount, and keep coming back year to year and move on up to that top tier. So that top tier is still the smallest, but it can get bigger and bigger. And that's how we're going to spread our awareness and spread our mission, is thinking about it a little bit like a cake. So just something to think about. So how to find them. You're going to spread that love wherever you go. It doesn't matter if you are at a networking group, if you are at your son's baseball game, if you're at the PTO meeting, if you're at church on Sunday. You can find someone that's been affected by Alzheimer's or that is a little bit aware of our mission and say, hey, you should come out, join a team, start a team, come out and fundraise and help us on this great day to, spread our mission and help us find a cure. So you want to draw them in by telling them it's going to be a great time. You're going to set them up for the future. And remember, those future fundraisers and mission will spread the mission. They'll raise more money, and they'll move up to a second tier. So while you're out in the community, like I said, how are you going to get them involved? Well, you've got to kind of have your elevator pitch or your soapbox speech that you've got to get them to care. You got to make it easy to join. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back real quick. All right. Here we go. So you want to make them care. You want to make it easy to join. You want to leave them wanting more. So you're telling them about this great stuff, and then you're handing them a flyer and say, hey, check it out for yourself. And that call to action is go check it out and sign up and join my team or start a new team. We all network on a daily basis. Even if you're not in the senior living industry or something that's thought of that's necessarily related to Alzheimer's Association, this is something that speaks strongly to your heart, or you wouldn't be here listening to this. So you need to shout that from the rooftop, whichever rooftop you're on that day. So like I said, it doesn't matter where you're at or what you're doing. You can be helping to recruit teams and spread the mission. But however, you need to remember that sometimes your audience just isn't involved and they just aren't captive. So you have to be able to quickly sell to them and share why it means so much to you and why they have to be involved. Leave them wanting to know more, but just make it quick and short and sweet. It's the cool thing. Everybody is doing it. Sometimes works, but it doesn't always. So you have to find that little kicker that's going to make them interested. This sphere of influence, some of you may have already seen this through different things. We use this for sponsorships as well, but it works for teams. Who do you know? Our Director of Special Events, Melissa Goodson, uses the example of what's your treasure map? So thinking about who's around you and who's already mapped out that you might just not have tapped into. So figuring out what their sweet spot is and who you know and who doesn't know that person, and figuring out what gaps there are in your community, using the sphere of influence and the people that you already know and see on a day-to-day basis. Those are the great people to tap into. So recruiting teams. Previous participants, somebody that didn't come back. We can pull, as staff members, we can pull reports and look at somebody that maybe walked in 2012 but hasn't been back since. Well, let's reach out to them. Maybe their team captain dropped out and they're like, I never started a team myself. So let's get them to start their own team and come back. Find out why. Let's fix it. Those $500 or plus walkers, our champions, do they want to start their own team? Those are people that are already successful. So they could be leaders and leading another team into even more success. Sponsors, they already gave us their money, but make them back up their money gift with some physical support. Will their company possibly match their donations if they start a team? Maybe they haven't even looked at that. Clubs and organizations, schools and churches, our marketing plan and our high five, which is something that the staff is doing. We are out to 5 people in the community, making 5 phone calls, asking for 5 meetups every single month with different community leaders and people that are involved. So we can help make those connections too. So here is our recruitment video that you can use, and you can show it at a community event or at work. You could embed this in an email. Any emails that you're sending out, you can just add this to the bottom, and your staff partner can give you the links to do that. But I thought I would show this today.
I feel like by being a team captain, my life has been affected because I have more hope. I feel like the more people that become aware, the more hope we have of eventually finding a cure.
I became a team captain for my family as a leader. This gave us hope, it gave us closure, it gives us healing.
My mother was the reason I became a team captain. She was a very social person and enjoyed visiting with people. This is very much a disease of isolation, and I think it needs to be more visible. And I think that team captains are going to have to be the face of this disease.
I personally volunteer at the Alzheimer's Association, and I know what the funds go to do, and I'm very proud to be supporting the work of such a great association.
The easiest part about being a team captain is having fun. You put a lot of work into fundraisers and activities, but when you actually get to go and reap the rewards of that and go out and have fun with your team, that's the best part.
The Alzheimer's Association helps team captains to organize their team and to get the word out by having emails online that you can send automatically to people to have come join your team. And it's really easy to sign up for the walk online.
We walk because it's a little bit of hope that we can provide to our families. It's our promise to them that we are going to do better for their children and their grandchildren. And it's something very real and tangible that we can do that shows our commitment to the care of the person with Alzheimer's disease and the future.
Now look around.
So I don't know what is more exciting than that. Seeing the day of and listening to the people and why it's important. And those are the kind of talks and spiels that you need to have. You need to be able to tell your story and be able to sell why it is important for these people to be involved and to join a team or to start a team. So how we're going to keep them? We're going to spread that love wherever we go. Like I said, let no one ever come to you without leaving happier. So make sure that you are, once people sign up, we're just not going to forget about them. And then hopefully they show up on day of and that they were successful. We want to show them the love and keep them happy throughout the whole process. We're going to kind of court them a little bit. We need to get to know them, know about their families, know their stories. Why are they want to be involved? We should be able to provide support and ideas, motivation, maybe friendly competitions between some teams. In Ann Arbor, we aren't even calling this team retention committee. We are calling this the team mentoring committee, because that's really what we want you to be doing as the team retention and as a committee and as a whole, but really focusing on let's make these people as successful as possible. We're going to build a culture of support. A manager told me a really long time ago, Maggie, I have to give you the tools, and tools in the toolbox never build to anything. So, we have all these resources and we have all these fabulous people that have been working so hard for us for all of these years to be successful. Why aren't we sharing that with new people and people that are returning? Everybody can only move up from where we're at. So we need to engage those participants. We want to inspire them. I really think that this is a great quote that I want someone to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. I think that I would love to see you all as team retention and team recruitment people inspiring those people. And I want them to walk up to me on the day of walk and say, gosh, I'm so excited to finally meet Joe and finally meet Kate and Tannum that were rallying around me this whole time. And they're the reasons that I was able to become a champion this year. And then hopefully they'll want to join our committee and be that much more involved and engaged. So making sure to remember that past teams, they tend to fundraise more. So, hey, you reached a goal of $600 as a team last year. I think you can make $800 this year. How are you going to do that? Let me help you do that. New teams will fundraise, but they aren't necessarily have the same time period that past teams will. They don't register as soon. So when we get them signed up, we want to make the most of that short period of time and get them to be as successful as possible. So what we're doing, we've developed a team captain engagement plan, and this kind of breaks it down to when they register, who's going to talk to them, who's going to either call them or email them, and kind of the talking points of what we're talking about and the purpose. So just asking how they're doing and congratulate them and seeing what we can do to give them more support. So team retention. So these are things that you can plan out with your staff person. There are autopilot emails that are going out during some of these events, during some of these time periods. And we as the staff partners have a couple of things up our sleeve too that will be going out as kind of incentives and fundraising blitzes and to try and help. But really work with your staff partner and see what we are sending out as national and what you all can do to make a phone call or an email or a postcard in the mail to really touch that person and make that connection. I spoke briefly about the autopilot emails. There was some confusion last year as to what these emails were and when they were going out. These are marketing and fundraise emails that were written, built, and sent for you. So there were 9 last year that went out and 10 coaching emails that are sent out either once a month or once a week leading up the month before walk. We are offering this again this year, and we do have the dates as to when they will be sent. It's designed to take some of the work off the chapter staff and off of you as a committee, but it's still very important for you to send those local emails and to talk about the kickoff events, and so they really have a personal touch to the planning committee. So here are some examples of what the ideas are going to be, or to give you an idea, of what the emails will look like, possibly. These aren't finalized, but these are just to give you an example of what they're going to look like so that you know what people will be looking at when they get them. So the 2015 autopilot plan will be a monthly nationwide recruitment email. So anybody that has not signed up from years previous will be getting these emails. And you will be opted in unless your staff partner specifically opts you out. Team touches. So like I said, we have a couple things up our sleeves, and these are some examples. Actually, the bottom right is the Michigan Great Lakes chapter. These were sent out to our team captains last year, just as a quick, hey, we recognize you. We haven't forgot about you. Keep doing what you're doing. We're almost there to walk. and just thanks so much for what you're doing. These were some other examples that some other chapters have done, just to really, again, make that personal team or that personal connection with our team captains. The incentive program, this is something that we have decided as a chapter to do this year, and it's really exciting because the fundraising average for people that aren't involved in this incentive program is about $829, but people that were given these incentives raised an average of $1,000, over $1,000 each. So the numbers are there, and there's a proven track record. Here is the 2015 recognition program. So any individual fundraiser that raises over $300 will be receiving this bracelet, tumbler, or drawstring bag. I'm going to go plug in my computer. And anybody that raises these will keep going up the line and win these prizes. So there's nothing they have to do besides just fundraise and just reach these dollar amounts. So that's really exciting. And we are really looking at you as the team retention or team mentors to really help people buy into this program and be aware of it and get lots of cool stuff. So fundraising behaviors. This talks about, I mentioned that new teams don't necessarily always register as early as returning teams because they don't get it yet. They haven't been there. They haven't experienced yet. So we want to invite people to sign up earlier. The earlier we can get them on, the better. 53% of our participants will register within 2 weeks. So they can still do a substantial amount of fundraising and make an impact in 2 weeks, but think about if they were to register 4 weeks ahead. You can see how much more they are able to raise further out to the event. So because simply they just have more time to raise more money. Our bus fundraisers, our page updaters raise 3.4 times more. So that means that they are using our participant pages that we have. Self-donors usually raise $37 more on an average. Team captains raise 3 times more than just a general walker. So these are why we're focusing on these team captains. We really want to pat them on the head and to, give them a high five and show them the love, because they're the people that are raising these higher dollar amounts for us. This, again, is just looking at on that same thing that we were talking about. The important thing that I want to point out is page updaters. We're giving them those tools. Remember, those tools in the toolbox don't build anything. So we're giving them the tools. And if they actually use them, they are more likely to raise more money. And here is the solid numbers that show you that. So $372 versus $110. The other one is those team captains. So team captains raise more than an individual team member or walker. They have a bigger stake. They're in that middle of the cake that we were looking at. We want them to move up to the top tier and become committee members and champions and advocates for us. And we want to move those individual walkers up to that team captain spot. So things like the incentives and the team touches are just going to help motivate them even more. Remember about the Champions Club. I just briefly touched on that, but 4% of our participants are raising 41% of our fundraising dollars. I want to take a minute and look at that again. 4% is raising 41% of our dollars. That's amazing to me. And when I first heard that statistic, I said, that can't be right. So these champions, remember, are $500 or $1,000 people. So we want to be just cheering them on from the get-go. We want to be talking to them and say, hey, why haven't you registered yet? We need you to register. What can we do? What fundraiser did you do last year? How can we help you be more successful? We just need their buy-in as soon as possible, and we just need to give them as much love as possible. So to help you help your team captains and your walkers, we updated the tools added tools to the website. I know last year I've heard that it wasn't always as user-friendly and there were some issues. You need to be aware of the updates so that you can explain them if you need to. This is kind of what it looks like. If you haven't logged in yet, you should be one of the first ones that have logged in. But if you haven't yet, this is what the homepage looks like. There's mobile apps. There's new email ways, new emails, tools that the captains can use to email their team. I really like this badge down here. I don't know if you can see it, that you can make a donation or edit your page. And you can earn badges that you will be able to share on social media. Social media is a great tool. It's free. You don't have to pay for postage. People are on it all the time and they're paying attention. So it's a great tool for your participants to be using to kind of spread their mission and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Help me out and support me. The wraparound events is something that we as an association are embracing this year. So we already did most of the leadership luncheons in your community, and we were hoping between that and the volunteer kickoff party that we were looking for new committee members to become involved and more leaders in the community to get in from the on the bottom and on the front side to help us plan the event. The committee orientation, well, you're kind of doing an orientation right now, and every day we're talking about how we want you to train and what kind of the tasks we need to accomplish are. Our past team registration, that should be occurring right now as soon as possible. A lot of people are choosing to do those on give back nights. So the restaurant, you invite everybody that you can think of to a restaurant and they bring in a flyer, and the restaurant then donates back 10% or 20% of their profits for the evening. So I know in Ann Arbor on June 13th, we are inviting every single team captain and every single walker that is already registered by June to this day. And I'm saying you can come into Buffalo Wild Wings and Ypsilanti all day long and bring in this flyer, and they'll give 20% back off of your bill. But I'll be there with team captain kits and with some of the committee members, just introducing ourselves and shaking hands and high-fiving people and saying, hey, where you at on your fundraising? What can I help with? Can I get you flyers? Can I get you stuff? Just to kind of give them a face or a name to this email that they keep getting from me. So kind of the point of the past team wraparound, like we talked about, or what I was just speaking about, is getting these people invited and involved and when we want to do it. 7 months prior to walk. So we, like I said, we should be doing it anytime. Every community is different though. And whenever you think that it will work best to get your past teams registered, that's when we need to be doing it. Training, Walk Central. This is something that if you've been on any of these other peer-to-peer conference calls, you've heard about, but this is your training resource and your guidebook. And it's also a social media forum that you can get ideas from other chapters and make connections. There's lots of great videos and pictures on there that you can log in and look at and get different ideas and see what other walks are doing. And even if, you know, the Muskegon walk is not as big as the Ann Arbor walk, you can still gain things from them and say, hey, how are you doing this? Or if you've hit a roadblock, you can log into the forum and say, hey, I need help finding, getting churches involved. How did you do it? So it's really a great resource, and we're really urging everybody to be able to log in and be active on there. And lastly, the live training dates. So this was our Power of Teams. We will be talking about champions next, and then we'll talk a little bit further about team goal setting and incentives. And the important ones coming up, they're all important, but marketing and event experience, those are really some things that we are looking to share what other communities are doing to give you ideas and to make these events just so much fun. So thank you so much for logging in today and for listening. And I hope that you learned some great information, and you can go out there and just treat those teams like your family and get them inspired and motivated, and let's get them out there fundraising and spreading our mission and make this the best walk to end Alzheimer's year ever. Thanks so much, and please do not hesitate to contact myself or your staff member at any time with any questions. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye.